What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Boardroom Podcast, where we help you stay calm, change lives, and have business on your terms. Now, I have got a guest with me, Taylor, and one of the things that as I was doing some digging into who Taylor was and his background, he is well known in the guys that are in the game for like coaching and consulting, your business gurus that are in the game running sales teams. He's well known as like one of the best SDR managers in the space. So I was like, man, it'd be great to just kind of have a conversation and figure out like, how did you develop such a good reputation for managing setters when historically most entrepreneurs, that is the team that is the bane of their existence.
Oh, I've had that over and over again. You're right on that.
So I want to kind of like, for you, I want you to kind of unpack your background a little bit. Like, how the hell did you get into managing SDRs, and why are you so good at it when everybody else hates it?
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, appreciate you having me on, and I hope that this is somewhat valuable for you guys. I think there's a lot to unpack, and managing SDR teams, it's a science and an art in and of itself. It's a very hard one to crack. I'm like 15 months into this journey. So yeah, like I think to start us off, especially with my journey, I started in June 21 in the whole online space. I'd been in different environments of sales beforehand though. So I did door to door, did that for around about a year. I did cold calling when we had to pivot during COVID. Like we literally couldn't knock doors for around 7 months. So I had to actively focus on doing cold calling. I actually ran a call center and I was the top performer cold caller over there. I transitioned then to B2B. And then from there, I realized that the high ticket world is where it's all happening, especially back in 21, 22. So I started around June time. I worked with Jeremy Miner. That was my first proper big offer. And Matt Ryder's agency, Sales Sniper. Some of you guys that are on this call probably.
Okay. So you've got to work with some absolute legends.
Yeah. I mean, so I worked with 3 offers above $3 million a month. So Jeremy Miner was obviously my first one. Worked with Dr. Pompa at his company Pompa program. That's like, I think, a 4 or 5 month at the moment. So it was free when I started. And then worked with David Sharper over at Legendary Marketer. They were doing $6 million a month, and we had 160 reps on that offer as well. So I've always been part of big environments. I've seen what's worked culturally, what hasn't worked, even looking at smaller offers. But on the SDR side, I've produced, close to around about $2 million cash collected. As an overall performer, about 2.1 in the high ticket world. But as a manager, especially over the last 15 months, I've produced just above $5 million cash collected. So my management career has definitely been the biggest highlight of my career. And
that's incredible. For you, I mean, it is hard to get experience inside organizations that are doing those types of like revenue numbers, and for you to have like a few different hands inside of them, right? And to be able to kind of see behind the curtain a little bit. What is something that you see all of them doing? Like, I'm sure you've taken time to kind of like unpack, like, what are the things that are like tried and true principles and habits that all do that leads to their success? And then what are some things that you see them doing that you don't see them do that other smaller organizations that you've gone into do, and you have to pretty much like undo that bad habit?
With being in bigger offers, seeing what works is like the offers that are big, they do such a great job of creating the feeling of momentum, where smaller offers really struggle with that. And there's a lot that goes into what creates that feeling of momentum, not just from like the rep side, but like from the offer owner to the directors, the guys in marketing, management. Like at every level of the company, we all feel the kind of momentum that we're all building together. And so I think that really comes down to high accountability, but not like toxic accountability where they need to like get access to your screen and see all of your daily activities for 10 hours, like nothing crazy like that. But it's accountability for people that already have a very good base level standard for themselves and their life and their ambition. And once you work with somebody who's already like at a good level as far as like their base level communication, their base level ethics, principles, the way that they stand by things in their life, and just making them great, that's how you create an overall feeling of momentum from everybody in the company. Because if everybody's in that state of mind where they're always trying to get better, always trying to improve, they're very ambitious for themselves and their own life, that's what creates tons of momentum, and then you see growth across every single department. For SDR specifically, because it is a very high volume role, you need those people a lot more than ever. There's like that ambition, that ability to grind and really just dig through the dirt. Like those are really important characteristics for the SDR team. So I've been a part of those environments, and that's typically what works really well to like make them successful. Answering the other question around like what I've seen from the smaller companies where they're maybe not doing that, it's more so that the communication channels are just not as optimized. For the bigger companies, that feeling of momentum comes from very good communication through the different levels of hierarchy in the leadership and all the way through to sales. Like I think communication channels, optimizing that, expectations for newer reps coming in and onboarding is like so important. But I see so often in these smaller offers, they say, oh, I've got a list of leads in the CRM. I'll hire a setter. They'll just go and reach out to them. I'll just let them crack on, and they can do as many dials as they want. There's just no expectation. There's no culture. There's no leadership from the very get-go. Like the moment that you actually have an interview with a setter and you're about to onboard them, leadership should start from that point. They should already have clear-cut communication, clear-cut expectations, and they know where to go for every single issue that comes up in the role. And smaller companies just don't have those systems set up. So that's what I see.
Yeah. So when you're building the system from the ground up, right, what are like processes that you typically want to install that you're just like, once those things are in place, it sets a really good foundation to build a team on top of?
Yeah, well, first things first is like the first 4 days that a setter is in the role, like they need to have very clear-cut processes for each part of the role. So I provide typically a standardized onboarding process of 4 days. And in that onboarding process, you're covering everything from like the vision, mission and values that comes directly from the offer owner, so they can see what vision is trying to be built. Because every sales rep wants to be a part of something that's growing and becoming big. No sales rep wants to be a part of a company that's stuck at around maybe 2 salespeople and that's it. They always want to be part of something bigger. So that's big. They're going through the reviews of the scripts, like going through line by line. What does it mean? Like the psychology behind like how we communicate with clients, how the handoff process goes from setter to closer is another thing that's very, very important as well. Like how to actually communicate within the channels and actually ask for help. Some setters and salespeople in general really struggle with that and just don't know what filters to go through in the communication channels to make that work. There's so many other areas as well, like advanced training around pipelining, how to manage your leads, how to be the most efficient with your time and create calendar blocks. You go as in-depth as possible from the role of a setter. Like when I come into a company, I imagine myself being a setter that's coming into the role for the first time. And I'm going, do I know everything that I need to do to be as successful in this role as possible extremely quickly? And if I sense gaps just from like the communication standpoint in the Slack channels, in the CRM, in the training and onboarding, and the way that, the conversation is going from top to bottom, how does that filter? And if those are not done really, really well, then that's where it's going to create lots of problems. So as a setter, I look at all of those things to see if I can perform at a very high level very quickly.
For you, when you're looking at the SDR teams, does the tech stack matter? Like, what's more important, like having the right softwares or just having good SOPs that the SDR team follows?
Yeah, so I feel like with that question, it's more of an or question. Would it like if come hell or high water, you had to choose between one or the other, what's the most important? Like that's a very hard question to answer because I see importance in every single one of them. Like one's going to lead to a breakage in the other. But like, yeah, I think the tech stack's very important. But at the end of the day, the SOPs is what guides the decision making, right? Like at the end of the day, the setters, salespeople in general, we all just want to focus on doing the dials, having the conversation, and making sure we're taking care of our leads. That's all we want to do, right? So we don't want to do, I want to create this SOP for you guys. I want to create this script. And then I start building other stuff as a setter. It's like, no, I don't want to focus on that. I just want to perform what makes me the most money. That's what I care about. So you create SOPs that guides that decision making. You're actually reducing decision fatigue for that setter. You're allowing them to focus. And that's where a lot of their best work comes from, is having a very core zone of focus. And a lot of smaller companies, anywhere from I see maybe 50 to 200K a month, just don't have that level of focus and well built out SOPs to allow them to do that for their setters.
Yeah. So you're thinking if you're going to be building a really good SDR team, first you want to have the SOPs in place that guides their decision making. once that's in place, then the next thing is like really making sure the tech stack makes sense.
Yeah. And to add to that as well, like the way that I look at it is an insurance policy for the company. Because the reality is the high ticket space is still a small bubble. Like you're only one or two connections away from the most famous guy in this space. And the moment that an SDR comes out of your offer and says, oh, this is terrible, that word goes around very quickly when people talk negatively about your offer. So I'd rather create SOPs so that people that leave my offer, it's because they don't perform rather than, oh, like the offer was terrible, we didn't facilitate great leadership for that person. Because that means that it's mostly on you. You're the reason why your setters are leaving. That's most of the time what business owners very much struggle to admit.
That makes sense. So with, for you, what is like your go-to? If you had like one CRM to only build your SDRs team around, what is that? Because for me, I mean, I've been around the game for a while. So, I mean, I see people, we have people right now crushing it with their SDRs inside of JHL. I don't know how, but because I hate it as a CRM for sales team, but I got some people who are absolutely doing some crazy numbers with it. And then I've got some guys who swear by close. And then we've got other guys that swear by Alaware. And what's it for you?
Well, let's take Alaware out of the conversation. Like that's got to go. Look, like my current team that right now averages around 400K a month just from the setters, like they're using Dialer.io for the new leads that come in. And Dialer.io, by the way, I'd say is far ahead of any other dialer that I've seen out there. So if you don't have Dialer in your systems, you need to. And that's not me because I'm not an affiliate of Matt Ryder in any way. I've used the system and managed it across different teams. It's just the most efficient. And from a manager's perspective, so that's the dialer that I'd use with it. But the CRM, I use GHL with the Freedom Accelerator team, and that's crushing it at the moment. Like generally, the user experience, it can be clunky, it can be slow, but the value for money on GHL is actually very good. But if I was to have it my way and think if I would actually choose a CRM, like what would the best one be? I would say HubSpot for me is my favorite. Close is also amazing too. Like it has so many integrated features, but HubSpot, when I used it as a setter in Pompa, that was so efficient. And they've got so many different tools, ways to integrate. It's a more expensive platform, but like, you know, when you buy cheap, you buy twice with things. So I think HubSpot is worth the investment, especially as your team is a bit bigger as well. If it's smaller, you can get away with GHL for the first like 1 to 3 setters. I think that's totally fine.
That makes sense. And I've heard Dialer.io is like, I've not personally used it for our teams because we haven't had a need for it. But I mean, every single person that's on our platform that's using it swears by it. They're like, man, like the connection rate is insane. The visibility that you have, because think about it. All these other platforms that are built for salespeople haven't really been built by a true salesperson. Whereas like you get a guy like Matt Ryder, who's like done the damn thing at the highest level that you could possibly imagine. And he's like, I know exactly what the tool needs to do to actually effectively manage a sales team that's doing dials. And I think they nailed it.
Yeah, defo. Like, and to add to it, like don't get me wrong, the set of feedback sometimes has been, but like we're calling from different numbers, so people are getting annoyed and things like that. But in reality, they don't know who's actually calling. And it's the best way I find to get high pickups and speed to lead, which it's hard to track across any other dialer. And the reality is in the next few months, there's going to be huge changes with regards to how people pick up the phone. There's obviously going to be the call screening on iOS 26, all of these different things that mean using someone like Alaware and Close, all these different systems, they're actually not equipped for high pickup rates when these things happen. So Matt's the only one I know that's really ahead of the game in building those relationships with the head guys around the kind of like, you know, telecommunication space. So
that makes a bunch of sense. So for you, I mean, when you're thinking about building out your teams, I mean, you manage really great teams in that space. What's like the most important thing if you're for those who are kind of like listening that really struggle to build an SDR team that delivers the results that they need, right? Oftentimes people kind of use Charlie as a crutch to avoid having to build the team, like you're eventually going to need that team. Like all you're doing is you're just delaying the inevitable, right? So what are like best practices for people when they're looking for the right person to be an SDR on their team? And what are the best practices for communicating and training them and setting them up for success?
Yeah, so a lot that comes into that as well when I think about it. But for SDR teams where I've built them successfully, first of all, it comes down to being very clear on like past successful examples that you've had, in, let's say, on a closer context, even in other departments, like where have you found that their best traits are? Like, are they super resourceful? Are they over delivering? Are they focused on being a business owner within the role? And if you found that that's worked really well within your company, then you want to apply those same principles for your next hire. The only difference from a sales context is what is their baseline level communication. When they communicate to you, do they add a lot of context? What is their background outside of sales? Do they do anything competitive like sports? There's even a guy that I know that's one of the best SDR managers that I know, and he used to be a pro gamer, right? And those guys are not late. Like those guys work hard on those games, and it takes an incredible amount of work to get to an elite level there. So I always look at somebody who's like just has an obsession or a hobby that allows them to be disciplined, and that same obsession and discipline they have, that mindset they can likely apply to other things, right? And so I always look for stuff like that, and it's more like character as well. Like, what are their ethics, their morals? Are they going to focus on what's the right thing, or are they going to focus on what's based on self-interest or based on temporary feelings? So ethics and morals are like absolutely everything. Like I've had guys in teams that they were progressing really well. They were performing and doing a great job. And I had to let them go because they were so self-centered and focused on like their own performance, where they would do anything possible to overstep the other guys that are in the team. And I'd rather have somebody that like performs a little bit less, but they're very integral, hardworking. And at the end of the day, that promotes a really good group culture. Because I look at everybody as their own business owner, and I look at the team as a collective and building something more rather than just focusing on few people, but they just perform wildly, a lot more, and ethics isn't really taken into consideration.
Yeah, that makes sense. So for you're not in that role actively as far as like an SDR. You haven't been in there, but you've been managing the teams. So what are you up to exactly these days? Right. Like, so, and then, I want to know what you're up to specifically, what you're doing in your fractional roles and things like that. And then the other side too is, does it really even make sense for the business owner to actually be the one building the SDR team, or does it make more sense for them to kind of get to a point where they can hire someone to build out that team?
Yeah, so right now I focus purely on doing my management for offers. I actually have my own inner circle as well for setter leaders. So I've actually just brought on my 17th member literally earlier on today. So I've got 17 members of my school community that are currently setter leaders. I'm always looking for them to get into different opportunities. So I'm always looking for business owners to connect with to help place these guys that I'm training. And another thing as well is I manage currently one main offer, which is the YouTube automation one. And I also manage through a partnership that I've got with a guy called Joel Yee. He's one of the biggest closer guys that I know in the space. And we're partnered up on building a huge operation, like a setter director operation with his agency. So that's going to lead to more opportunities through him. So those are my main focuses. As far as for the business owner to work on the SDR team, like initially I would say so. I think from the 0 to 100K mark, like you should be, if anything, taking the sales calls yourself, having an SDR kind of work in tandem with you, and you have like kind of a nice partnership, like a, how do I say it? Like a Michael Jordan and
Batman, Robin.
Yeah, exactly. Scottie Pippen, MJ, that kind of thing. That's really what I look at with that partnership. And then beyond the 100K, where at the end of the day, your bandwidth is totally taken out from sales calls, you need to outsource that and then focus on an SDR. That's when I would start to hire, like at least from the 100K, 150K a month range.
If the business owner is in that kind of like that early stage where they're growing, but they still need to be in it, does it make sense for them to even go into your inner circle to like get training from you on the like managing that team and building that, or like what resources can they get to do that effectively?
Yeah, I would say the starting part is definitely to join that inner circle. Like, it's a very low ticket subscription. It's like $127 a month. So like, that's not like a big priority for me. It's not the biggest income earner, but it's just to provide some value and, obviously improve the reputation. So from my end, that would be the best place to start, like knowing how to have the principles of managing maybe your first SDR that comes on board, and like what the systems that you can create so that you're building a very solid foundation when you are ready for like 2 or 3 more SDRs. And then when you're at that stage, you're definitely going to need management. Doing that yourself whilst you're trying to market, you're trying to fulfill, you're just not going to do it at the highest possible level to allow you to get to those 200, 300, 400K months and beyond. So yeah, at that point, 100% it's worth having SDR management. I'd especially say at the 200 to 300K a month level, because at that point, like, bandwidth and a lot more time intensity.
Yeah. What would you say? How much time does somebody need to be able to allocate to the SDR management to be able to do it effectively?
I mean, it really depends on the nuance of the offer, right? Like, at the end of the day, if you're dealing with a lot of lead flow and there's a lot of coverage and you're needing a lot more guys, like, you're going to need like nearly a full day, to get in the weeds and manage, review their calls, review meaningful conversations as well as sets. Those things are important as well. Dive into the CRM, see what the kind of pickup rates are, the speed to lead times, making decisions around data, making hiring decisions, which you often have to, go really fast on those hiring decisions. Like, you fire fast and you hire a lot faster. It's typically the philosophy there. So yeah, like, at the end of the day, if you're a startup from 0 to 100K, you can manage an SDR like for, up to 2 hours a day. As long as you focus on reviewing a few of their conversations, you have just a quick huddle to make sure they're all good to go, they've got the right expectations, and you do a quick bit of coaching, that's fine. Now, that's enough to start with. But the moment you add on 2, 3, 4, like, you're going to need a lot more bandwidth than that. And because you're managing a whole culture.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because one of the things that I think some people kind of get afraid of is they're like, if I bring on somebody, I need to be micromanaging them like every single hour of the day and going
in. Drive them away. That would drive them away.
So that's why I wanted to you to share that, because it doesn't require you to have, you just need to have structure in how you're actually managing the team and taking time to actually review calls, give them feedback, and make sure like the daily activities are being done and the standard is being held. But you don't have to micromanage. I think that's where a lot of people get it wrong, is that when I'm seeing their mindset with their teams, is because we get some behind the scenes access and things like that. I'm like, you're spending so much time micromanaging that it's distracting from doing other things. And if you had just hired the right people to begin with, they don't need to be micromanaged. You just need to clearly communicate expectations and then let them do their thing.
Like, I would honestly submit a test to those business owners. Like, do not say anything at all to the team for the next 3 days and like see how they show up. Like, do they do less dials? Do they proactively communicate? Like, who's the set that asks the most questions out of the whole team? And then you're going to quickly identify who are your team members that will kind of be your internal set of board members versus the ones that are just there clocking in, clocking out, and are just there to keep a job and ride a base pay. Those are the things that I would definitely recommend just testing. And there's also another belief, like sometimes a business owner believes a set manager has to be doing a full like 8 to 10 hour workday. When in reality, in that 8 to 10 hours, you would be doing too much. Like, you can't not micromanage on an 8 to 10 hour workday. You just need to do what's effective, have trust with your team members, because top performers, they know their own abilities. They know they're going to put in the work. They don't need you to harp on them. You just need to be there, giving them the support, like creating the list that enhances their performance. Do the things that prevent them from having to think about other things other than dialing, having conversations and managing their leads. You just do everything else. And that doesn't have to be a crazy work day. It's doing what's efficient, and then the 20% that gives the 80%. That's what I focus on as a manager.
That makes sense. And I like that kind of heuristic on that side. So for the business owners who want to get the ball rolling, right, and just kind of like they're in that stage where they are learning, they need to learn how to do it. They have your school community. What about for the ones who are beyond that 200K mark and are looking for a manager? Is that something that you're helping them with as well? Like, can somebody who's listening, who needs a manager, hit you up for a placement? What does that look like?
Yeah, so with obviously my inner circle, there's a lot of great talent within there. Like with the new guy that I've just brought on, I think there's around at least $25 to $30 million in cash collected from all of us collectively in that group. So there's a lot of top performers in that group. So I would be looking to place those guys to be able to manage roles and then be able to effectively give you the onboarding SOPs and all of the systems that allow you to run a team, right? Done with proper management and, of course, being able to help you with attracting talent as well. Now, I don't specifically focus on setter placements myself. I used to do a little bit, but I focus on, like, ultimately there's setters that come to me all of the time, and there's different networks I have of people that know loads of setters as well.
Well, specifically for like the leadership, like the setter lead and or even the setter manager. So for specifically like leadership for that team, they can essentially, anybody listening here can hit you up to connect with you on like, hey, I want to get somebody in leadership, or I have somebody that I really think can step up and do it, and I want to get them trained.
Yeah, 100%. It's exactly that. I mean, at the moment, my focus is really doing the best I can with my current management offers and like growing my partnership with Joel. So that's like my core focus. But as far as giving other talent to business owners to give them the systems they need to start growing and building the foundations, like that's something on the side that my talent will be able to enable for a business owner. So.
Cool, man. Well, where can people find you as we start to wrap up? I hope for those of you guys who are listening, and you're building sales teams, like I don't think sales teams are going anywhere anytime soon, right?
A lot of different things to say, don't they?
Yeah, people are terrified that AI is gunning for sales jobs, and for me, I just think the notion is ridiculous. If you have a high ticket item that needs a consultation to get them to purchase, you're never going to replace that human interaction, right? At least that's what I believe. I think AI is going to help augment a lot of the work that teams are doing, which is obviously one of the things that we're working on doing with Charlie's to enable teams to be more productive, so that they can focus on having those conversations. Because I think that's where humans are the best, if they're trained well, having conversations like this, unpacking objections, breaking limiting beliefs, and really helping guide people to make purchasing decisions and getting them away from all the administrative tasks that does not involve them talking, making offers, setting calls and making deals. Right?
Yeah, absolutely hate admin as salespeople. Like, getting salespeople to do admin is like herding kittens, but it's like, they're not just kittens, they're like wounded kittens, right? It's difficult. It is tough.
Yeah. So, what's the best platform for someone to connect with you on? And then for your management offer, what does that look like? Are you taking on any clients for the management offer, or are you currently at capacity?
Yeah. So for me, like personally, to come in and manage your team, like that's not something that I have as an offer right now, but obviously my setter leader talent that I focus on and all of the systems that I have, that's very much a part of the offer for anyone that does direct management there. And it's very much from everything that I teach. So they'll just be an extension of me, essentially. Right. But yeah, as far as how you can reach me, Facebook, I use a hell of a lot. So just Taylor O'Hare, my name. Instagram, I've created an account called Make Setters Great Again. So feel free to follow me on there. And then I have a YouTube channel, Taylor O'Hare. There's about 140 videos of me talking about setter stuff. Haven't uploaded on there in a little while, but that's got some useful stuff on there as well.
Okay. So we'll put those in the show notes. And then any resource you think be worth including in the show notes for the viewers to be able to check out?
I do actually. So I've actually got a detailed version of how I helped scale a setter department to around 670K in 7 months. So I've got a whole document on how I did that process. Especially the first 90 days is where I talk a lot about it intensely. So I will send that document over to you, and then everyone can download that and have a read of that if they want.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I think that very, very useful. So we'll include that in the show notes as well. But man, pleasure having you on board. I feel like SDRs are like the stepchild, black sheep of most entrepreneurs, but the common theme between the companies that are crushing it in the high ticket space and those who are struggling, they have really good SDR teams and very strong sales cultures, right? Like if you want to build a big high ticket coaching business or consulting business or anything where you're selling something expensive, product or service that requires sales conversations, you got to have a solid team and a solid sales culture. And you got to be willing to learn how to build that. And I think somebody like you is a great resource for people. Join the school group if you need to learn and build those skills, right? I'm a fan of getting reps under the bar and doing the damn thing and getting good at it. So join that. And then if you're beyond that point and you want some leadership in place for that, I definitely consider reaching out to Taylor and seeing who he has in his Rolodex and pipeline that they can plug into your business.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
All right, my man. Well, that does it. If you find this helpful, all this stuff will be linked in the show notes. Click it, consume it, and then reach out to Taylor if you're building a sales team and you need some solid SDR training that you want to dive into. And if you need some leadership for your SDR team, hit him up. I think for me, knowledge and proximity are two of the most powerful amplifiers of success. Having the right information at the right time and just rubbing elbows with the right people. So I think Taylor is a guy worth connecting with on socials, and consume some of the resources, and then hit him up if you need some connection or anything in that regards. All right, crew. Till next time, stay calm, change lives, and not business on your terms. Peace.